Hi, welcome to Undead Yarn. This is episode 12. My name is Heidi, and you can find me as Knitty Girl on Ravelry and Plurk and Knitty Girl 1 on Twitter and Instagram. Let me go ahead and I'm going to get started right into my works in progress. I talked about last week some of the knit-alongs I was going to participate in, and the first one that I started was, and I started right on the first, was my sweater for the Sock Bunny Knit and Fit podcast sweater knit along. She's running a sweater knit along from January through March. And I'm doing the pattern Wicked. I don't have the designer's name right now, but I'll tell you next week. Here is the beginning. This is a top-down sweater knit in the round, and this attacked me this week. When I started it, I got through the first 4 rows and then realized it was twisted. And so then I frogged it. And then I cast on again and started knitting, knit about 2 or 3 rows and realized again it was twisted. So after that, I decided I wanted some success. So I went ahead and I knit the pocket. On the front there's a pocket. It's not a hoodie, but it does have a little pocket on the front. You can either put on or not put on. So I did this, and after I did that, I decided it was time to try again, and this time I was successful. And I have the neckband is almost done. So that was my first work in progress. That is the pattern Wicked, and the yarn I'm using is Elan.com Peruvian Euro Saran, and what's interesting is it's 50% Highland wool and 50% llama, and it is kind of got a little bit of halo on it, and I'm guessing that's from the llama. Most wool doesn't normally have a halo like that. So that's my first work in progress, and that's for, like I said, that's for the Sock Bunny Knit and Fit sweater knit along. And then another project I started, Sassy Pants Knitter is having a ice searing knit along, and she has not started yet, but she said it was fine for us to go ahead and get started. And I decided that I was going to use my Zombified self-striping yarn, Undead Yarns Zombified self-striping, and this is what I have so far. And yeah, it's pretty eye searing. The green is that bright chartreuse green. So I've got I'm to the point where I'm going to put in the thread for the forethought, afterthought heel, whatever you want to call it, and keep knitting, and then I'm going to do the regular heel that people use for the afterthought, forethought heel. That pattern is by Laura Linneman. And I'm using my Chigoos, and these are size 1. I like to do my socks magic loop one at a time. When I first started knitting socks, it was before magic loop had come out, so I did use DPNs, and I found it was okay with 3 DPNs. I really didn't like working with 4 DPNs. I found that too fiddly. But since I started doing magic loop, I have not turned back. I love magic loop. It's so much easier. You don't have to worry about your needles falling out. I know there are a lot of people who don't like the fact that you have to pull the cable through each time you knit around, but that's what I like. And I did try, when I started the pattern that I showed you last week, the fuzzy feet, and I didn't work on that at all this week. I did try the method with the 9-inch cable because I had bigger needles, and I was able to do it, but it's a different way of moving your hands and your needles. When I got to the point where I was going to do the heel, I switched to a longer cable. I didn't think I could do that on a 9-inch cable. So I attempted it, and the beginning was okay. I'm not sure if I will try that again. Cherie of Kirby Werby Yarns really enjoys doing that, and I thought, oh, I'll try it. And I tried it and I was able to do it, but I don't know if that's really going to be the thing that I choose to do when I knit my socks. Because that's normally what I like to knit. I like to knit socks and I like to knit shawls. And I'm trying to branch out and knit some other stuff. I have knitted sweaters. I forgot to mention that last week the sweater I was wearing was my Claraland sweater. It's Claralund by Cornelia Tuttle Hamilton. And I knit that with Neurocurion, and that's actually my favorite sweater that I've made. I've made some other sweaters. I did make the Sharia Moore. It was a nitty pattern a long time ago, but the sleeves ended up way too long, so I ended up just getting rid of that sweater. Most of the sweaters, or the things that I've worn the most as far as garments go, have been my tank tops. So mostly I like to knit shawls and socks. Those are my favorite things. I did also get some work done on my sock yarn blanket, or not sock yarn, this is the blanket that I'm knitting from that magic ball I made from the wool sweater I took apart. And this is where I am so far. I kind of like how it looks. I'm not doing a pattern, it's just a garter stitch blanket, but it's nice and warm, and I think I can feel that it's warm when I'm knitting with it on my lap. I think my dogs will like it. So that's been my other knitting, and I did start a snuggle that I did not bring over. I'm just knitting that out of Red Heart Soft, and I'm using the Granny's Favorite Dishcloth pattern to knit it. So those are my works in progress. This week I don't have any finished objects. I don't have any spinning. I didn't work on those things in the last couple of weeks. And for the week in review, the last couple of weeks, we saw The Wolf of Wall Street. I don't have too much to say about that movie. I guess it was a good movie, but the people in the movie were just not very likable characters. You kind of, at the end of it, you kind of feel sorry for them because their life was pretty messed up. But anyway, then the other thing we did today is my husband wanted to go to IKEA, so we went up to IKEA, and we also tried out a new Indian restaurant, and that was fun. Oh, I forgot, last Sunday I went to a new knitting group, and that was nice. I got to meet some new people. And tomorrow I'm going to my Crochet Guild of America meeting that we hold up north. There's a North Austin group and a South Austin group, and I'm in the North Austin group because that's where I live. And let's see, the next thing, that's pretty much what we did the last couple of weeks. I do have a little bit of enabling. I have decided this year I'm not going to say that I'm going on a yarn diet because I know that won't happen, but I am going to try to be more mindful with my purchases. I definitely have more yarn than anybody would ever need. I probably have enough yarn to open a small yarn shop. But I did get a couple of things in. This is Highland Handmaid's Trickster. It was really great. I actually asked on Plurk if she would dye this color because I hadn't seen it in the shop for a long time. So when she dyed it, I went ahead and grabbed it up. I love it. It's got the orange and black and purple in it, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet. It might be, my thought is to make it socks, but it might make an interesting shawl, like a hitchhiker or something, or a Bactus that's a side-to-side shawl. It might make, it might look nice like that. So it's 75% superwash wool and 25% nylon, and there's 425 yards. So this is my purchase from Highland Handmaids. And I joined a club, a yarn club for Jinx Yarn. She's having a Pretty Princess Club, and the colorways are based on the Disney princesses. And I joined it for the first couple of months. I think she's going to do it the whole year, but she's going to have like 2 months at a time or 3 months at a time, so that if people don't want to buy a whole year's worth of yarn, they can join the club for just a small amount of time. So I've joined the first part, and I really love the colorway that she came up with for the first month. She said this was her favorite Disney princess, and this is actually mine too. I don't watch a lot of Disney movies, but I really did like The Little Mermaid. I thought that was really cute. And so this is called Ariel, and I don't know if you can see, but there are so many blues, and there's a little pops of red, but there's so many colors in this. It's really beautiful. And it's got some greens. This is kind of a tonal one. And this is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it's 400 yards. And this is a sock yarn. This is her strong sock base. So that's the Pretty Princess Club. I got my first shipment. And those are the only two things I have this week for enabling. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is the finished object thread. There were only 2 entries this time, and one of them was from the person who won last month. So the winner this month is going to be the other person. I think it would only be fair for somebody else to win since there was another entrant. This is the Noro book that she won, and the winner is Ange's Hip. So if Ange's Hip, if you can go ahead and PM me and let me know your address so I can send this to you, you're the winner for the Noro book. And I've decided, since we haven't really had a lot of I can't talk. Haven't had a lot of participation in the finished object thread, that I'm going to hold off on that for now. But what we did have a lot of participation in was we had a lot of participation in people entering the group and introducing themselves. I'm really glad to say that we're up to 102 members as of this afternoon. And I went ahead and pulled for somebody to win a skein of my yarn, and you get to pick anything from the shop that you want. And her name is Smo Rec. Oh no, that's not right. The winner was number 20, and her Ravelry name is Scoon83. I did not write down what her real name is, but her Ravelry avatar, the name is SCOON83. So if you could also PM me and let me know your address and let me know which color from my shop you would like to send. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this so that the next time when we get up to 200 members, I'll draw again. And I'm not going to make it just like the 100 to 200. I'm going to draw from everybody each time. You can only win once. I think that's only fair. But I'm not going to limit it to just the first, like just every 100 people. I'm going to draw from the whole group of people who introduce themselves in the introduction thread. So let other people know about my group so that we can keep going with this. It'll be fun. And I also wanted to talk about some of my personal goals for 2014. Not my personal goals, but like my knitting and crocheting and spinning goals. I decided that this year I want to make sure that I knit at least one sweater. I've got a lot of sweaters worth of yarn and I need to either use it or destash, so I want to start using it. I'm gonna knit one sweater, and I've already started it. That's the Wicked. I want to crochet one sweater, and I'm thinking about doing Cupcake from the Happy Hooker. It's a short sleeve sweater, and I'm probably going to do it in a cotton yarn. And then I also want to make sure that I learn how to Navajo ply. I've been really avoiding some of my bobbins that I want to Navajo ply because I didn't do a very good job the first time I did it, but I need to keep trying because that's the only way that my spinning ever got better, was by continuous practice. Because like I said, for some reason knitting was not that hard for me to learn, and crocheting took me a little while, but not that long. But spinning has been the thing that I really had to push myself at to learn. So I'm going to make sure that, I've had a whole year, so I'm sure by the end of the year I should be able to do it. I also would like to use my Cricut loom. I've I took a class on weaving, and it wasn't even really enough to be a scarf because we only had, like 3 hours or something. And a lot of the time was spent warping the loom because we weren't familiar with how to do it. So I only wove that one thing, but I loved it. I loved the little thing that I wove, and I use it as like a coverlet on things. So I want to also make sure that I crack out that Cricut loom and at least weave a dishcloth or something, because it's just sitting in my closet. So those are my goals for this year. And I also wanted to go into the shop news. I have 2 new colors. One of them I can show you, the other one is still drying. So I don't have that one to show you yet. But they will both be up in the shop this week. Here's the first one. I haven't named it yet. I think I know what I want to name it, but I'm not quite sure. It's got different shades of green, a lime green and then a darker green, and it goes into browns, and then there's yellow. And this one is in my new base. This is a merino base. It's not superwash. This is just 100% merino, and it's 350 yards, and this is a DK. I think I mentioned before I was going to get a new sport weight yarn, and for some reason I thought this was going to be a sport weight, but then when I got it, it was a DK, so I will have to go back to my list and see if there's another yarn, but I do like this yarn. I think this will be a good addition to the shop. And then this way, since this isn't superwash, if you wanted to make something to felt, you could felt it. This one and the other color I showed last week that's called the Others, those are the 2 that I have in the shop right now that are in the new base, that are in the DK 100% merino with 350 yards. So I like the fact that it's wool and it's not superwash, so like I said, you can felt it if you want to. And I also like the fact that it has more yards than the other DK base that I had. So this is my new color, and I also have another one it's mostly blue, but it's got pops of orange and yellow in it. And that colorway is going to be called Mystique, and it's named after that evil lady from X-Men. So those are going to be the 2 new colorways, and they're both variegated. I also wanted to let you guys know I do have 2 holiday colorways in mind. One's going to be called Leprechaun, and the other one is going to be Easter based, but I'm not going to tell you what the name of it is yet. One of them will be self-striping and one of them will be variegated. And those should be, hopefully I can get to dyeing those sometime this week. And I wanted to also remind everybody that I still have a coupon code, and it's good through the end of the month. It's for 15% off anything in the shop, even the sale items. I still have some sale items left, and you can get 15% off of those too. The code is NY in capital letters, and then 2014, and it's all smushed together. So NY 2014 is the coupon code to get 15% off anything in my shop, Undead Yarn. And with that, I'd like to say get busy knitting or get busy dyeing.